The funeral hall was silent. The fragrance of white lilies filling the air as mourners whispered quietly, their eyes heavy with grief. At the front, the photograph of a beautiful woman in her thirties stood framed in gold, surrounded by candles and garlands. She was the beloved wife of a powerful tycoon, admired for her grace, kindness, and the quiet strength that had made her unforgettable. But amid the hush, the wooden doors of the hall suddenly creaked open, and all had turned. A small boy, no older than 7, walked in barefoot, with his face strict whiskers, with his eyes white with determination. He pointed each trembling finger at the portrait and spoke a single word that froze everyone in place. Gusts filled the hall as each innocent voice echoed against the marble walls. The wealthy guests and dignitaries shifted uneasily, wondering if they had heard him correctly. The tycoon, seated at the front in a black suit, stiffened instantly, with his hand tightening on the armrest. For a long moment, no one moved, and the by small frame seemed almost swallowed by the grandeur of the room. But H.A.S. gaze never wavered, with his finger still pointing toward the picture, with his lips trembling as though he carried a truth to heavy for H.A.S. young heart. A murmur spread among the mourners, a tide of confusion and disbelief. Could this boy truly be calling the deceased woman H.A.S. mother? The Techion's personal guards moved forward swiftly, attempting to escort the child out, but the boy stepped back with surprising courage. He shouted, with his voice breaking with both fear and defiance. The hall fell silent again, and for the first time, people saw the resemblance H.A.S. large, expressive eyes were the very same as the woman in the portrait. The child's small fists were clenched as he struggled to hold back sobs. H.A.S. sudden intrusion had torn open the fabric of carefully constructed appearances, leaving everyone with questions. Who was this boy, and what truth did he carry? The tycoon rose slowly from H.A.S. seat, H.A.S. tall figure commanding the room. H.A.S. face was stern, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in H.A.S. eyes as he studied the child. Murmurs he had tried to bury began clawing their way back to the surface, but he pushed them down, refusing to show weakness in front of so many. He asked coldly, H.A.S. voice listening through the tension. The boy's lower lip trembled, but he stood H.A.S. ground. He declared, tears streaming down H.A.S. face. A stunned silence fell, broken only by the muffled sobs of the boy. The whispers grew louder, spreading like wildfire. Journalists who had been discreetly taking notice now leaned forward, sensing a story that could shake the empire of the grieving tycoon. The boy, however, seemed oblivious to the shockwaves he had caused. H.A.S. small chest rose and fell rapidly as he tried to keep H.A.S. courage. For him, this wasn't about power, wealth, or scandality. It was about claiming the only bond he had ever known. The woman in the portrait was not just a stranger. She was H.A.S. mother, and her absence carved a hole too deep for a child to bear. H.A.S. innocent declared turned through the hole like lightning. The Techion's face darkened as he turned to the guests. He declared, H.A.S. voice lisped with fury. But even as he spoke, he could not stop himself from seeing the man's face in the boy's expression, the same curve of the lips, the same fire in the eyes. He wanted to dismiss the boy as an intruder, a liar, but the word gnawed at him. The boy stared off, still ranking H.A.S., shaking the certainty he had always carried. For a man who controlled everything, this was the first time he felt H.A.S. words slipping beyond H.A.S. grasp. The boy's sobs grew louder, and finally, an elderly maid stepped forward from the crowd, her hands trembling as she held her rosary. She whispered, her eyes filling with tears. The whole gasped again as all turned to her. The tycoon glared, with his anger sharp, but the maid's resolve did not falter. She had served the late wife 4 years, carrying secrets too heavy for her frail shoulders. And now, in this hall of truth and grief, she could no longer hide what had long been buried. The Techion's breath caught, his chest tightening as her words struck him. The room buzzed with tension as the boy looked at the maid, which his tearfully eyes silently pleading for validation. He asked softly, H.A.S. voice cracking with pain. The maid broke into sobs as she nodded, her hands covering her face. She confessed. The boy collapsed onto H.A.S. knees, sobbing uncontrollably, with his tiny shoulders shaking under the weight of grief and truth. The whole became a theater of raw emotions. The tension's heart pounded. VHS mind racing back to nights filled with arguments, decisions fueled by pride, and a marriage that had been more complicated than outsiders ever knew. He remembered HAS if his southern trips, her long silences, the way her eyes always seemed to carry unspoken aura. He had dismissed it as fragility, as distraction, but now the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Had she truly hidden a child from him, or had he been too blind, to consumed by wealth and power, to notice the lives that had been kept from him? The guests exchanged uneasy glances, some whispering judgments, others holding back tears of sympathy. In the middle of it all, the boy wiped HA's face, looking directly at the tycoon with a bravery far beyond HA's years. He said, HA's voice soft but unwavering. The words struck like arrows, tearing into the tension's fortress of pride. For once, the billionaire stood speechless, stripped of HA's power, confronted not by business rivals or scandals, but by the unshakable truth of blood and family. The vice presence changed the air in the hall. It was no longer just a funeral, it became a reckoning. The tycoon faced not only the loss of HA's wife but also the possibility of gaining or rejecting a child who carried her soul. HA's fists trembled, torn between anger, shame, and the fragile spark of fatherhood he had never allowed himself to feel. The mourners, once mere witnesses, now became silent judges of HA's every move. Would he deny the boy and protect HA's image, or would he embrace the truth and risk unraveling everything he had built?